Assalamu alaikum, students. Uh, Today we are going to study further the human digestive system. As you know that in the last class we had discussed different parts of the human digestive system, and we have discussed also the chemical and physical digestion, why physical digestion is important, what is chemical digestion. We had also discussed the importance of teeth in physical digestion. We had discussed four different type of teeth, and then we had also discussed that what are their names, what are their functions, how can we recognize them, and we also discussed the internal structure of the teeth. As well as we had also discussed the parts of the alimentary canal and important digestive organs that were associated, that were linked with the digestive system. Now, today we are going further by discussing how the food that we take in is digested, absorbed. I mean, what are the functions of these organs that we had discussed earlier, and how do they perform their function, and what are in detail, right? So, let's move further. Now, today, the syllabus content or the student learning outcomes, as we know that I'd always try to make you understand that we have to follow the syllabus content, so that we may not miss any syllabus learning outcome that the syllabus of CI would want you to learn, and but you miss, right? So we have done till 8. Now the ninth one is describe the functions of the main region of the digestive system limited. Okay, so we have I think we have done this with the here, as you can see here, that we have done this with mouth. Now mouth, the function of the mouth is the ingestion of food, physical digestion with the help of teeth, chemical digestion of starch begins in the mouth. Now, regarding the esophagus, the function of esophagus, that this food tube is basically the food passes through it from mouth to stomach with the help of peristalsis. Okay, and now what is peristalsis? We will study it. The next part is stomach. Now, stomach is that muscular organ in which food stays for a while, right? Whenever we eat food, it stays for a while. Now, there are two sphincter, which are also called, you can also say that valves are present, which basically are closed so that food stays for a longer period of time in the stomach. Now, there is a sphincter. Now, wait. Now, as you can see that in this diagram, now there is a sphincter here, right, at this point and at this point. Now, these sphincter are basically, these are those muscles. There is a ring of muscles that basically on relaxation makes the way open for the food to pass through. Why these walls are present here? So that your food that basically reaches the stomach does not uh, go back into your esophagus, into your mouth, right? And same for here, there is a sphincter that is called pyloric sphincter, which is here. When the food is partially digested in stomach, then these sphincter opens it. This is like a valve, you could say, that food passes through it, right? And in stomach, basically the food is partially digested. Now, let me start in detail with what happens in the mouth and in the what happens in the mouth, right? So first of all, we must know that the process of digestion is basically, now the process of digestion, or you could say that the taking in of food, it has 5 steps. Now these 5 steps included, right, these 5 steps included ingestion, right? Ingestion of food. Ingestion of food, right? Then comes its digestion, right? Then comes absorption, then comes assimilation, and finally egestion. Now you must have an idea regarding these 5 terms. Why is that so? Because you must know the definition of these terms as well, so that they will help you to understand that what is the process, what is the sequence of the process. First of all, you take in the food, right? Ingestion means you are eating the food with your mouth. Digestion means the food is broken down first into smaller pieces with the help of physical digestion, then with the help of chemical digestion, which is the chemical changes in the food to make them change into simpler soluble substances so that they can be absorbed into your bloodstream. The absorption is basically the absorption of those soluble substances, simpler soluble substances like glucose, amino acid, fatty acids, and glycerols into your bloodstream, right? Then assimilation is basically after the absorption, these nutrients are taken to the cell where they are used. For example, glucose is used for respiration, for converting it into glycogen. For example, amino acids are used for protein synthesis. Extra amino acids are basically their deamination is done, and then after assimilation is done on the one hand, and on the other hand the undigested food is removed from your body. So these are the five processes whose definition you must know, and you must know what is basically the sequence. Now we have to discuss each and every function of each and every part. Now, as we discuss, we will be continuing actually this part as in the form of a story like. Okay? First, what happens that when we say mouth, right? Whenever we are saying mouth, it means that in mouth both type of digestions are done, physical digestion and chemical digestion, right? Now physical digestion with the help of teeth, physical digestion of food, that is the big the big bites that you have taken, big pieces of food, for example bread, meat, rice that you have taken in, right? These are chewed and grinded by your teeth, molar and premolars, right? So that they may become a bowl of bolus, right? Your food is does not have a large surface area, it has a large volume, right? It has a large size, but it does not have a large surface area. A large surface area is needed so that your food can be mixed better with the enzymes to have a better and quicker rate of chemical digestion. So physical digestion of food with the help of teeth, and here in the mouth, chemical digestion of starch begins, right? And this chemical digestion of starch begins with the help of salivary amylase. Now salivary amylase is an enzyme, right, which is present in saliva. Right now saliva is basically a secretion of our salivary gland, present in saliva, and saliva is a secretion of salivary gland. Now these salivary glands are present in 2 to 3 locations in our mouth. They secrete saliva. Saliva consists of enzymes and water as well. Now what is the function of saliva? That basically it moist your food, right? Now the saliva moisten your food because, for example, if you have taken a dried bite of rice or meat, so if it isn't moistened, right, how enzyme will work on it? Because as you know that enzyme requires water to be dissolved in to work on. Enzymes are only active when they are in aqueous solution form, right? So water's presence is a must. Now what happens that this chewing, basically chewing of food, is increasing the surface area of food, making the chemical digestion by salivary amylase more efficient. Now more efficient and quicker. Because if you won't chew, right, first of all, that if you won't chew, the surface area of the food will not be increased, it will not be moistened, it will not be mixed with the saliva, with the salivary amylase. So a partial amount of starch will be digested, although all of the starch that is present in your food is not digested by the salivary amylase, because somehow you swallow the food. So when you swallow the food, it goes down into the esophagus, and there the chemical digestion of starch is continued, but still all of the starch is not digested. Now here, starch is digested into maltose, right? Maltose is a disaccharide. Now, still, it's not a simplest sugar. We want the monosaccharide form of the carbohydrates to be absorbed into the bloodstream. As you know that only glucose or the monosaccharides can pass through the cell membrane because of their smallest size. And maltose, they are disaccharides. They have a bigger size, so they cannot pass through the cell membrane. So that's why it has to be digested, as we had discussed earlier in the class, that there is a need of the digestion of complex food because they are in very large and macromolecular size. This macromolecular size has to be converted into a very small size that would be able to pass through the cell membrane, right? So starch is digested into maltose in mouth and in esophagus, right? Now next is esophagus, right? Now what is the function of esophagus is, its function is basically food is passed down to stomach through esophagus, and while the food is passing down to stomach from mouth, right, the starches keep on digesting, starches keep on digesting into maltose by amylase in esophagus, right? The starch digestion is continued in the esophagus. And how the food is moving, food is moving. Now how food is moving, food is moving in the esophagus with the help of peristalsis. Now, what is peristalsis actually? Now, peristalsis is actually the wave-like muscular movement of the muscles of the alimentary canals wall, which helps the food to push forward, right? We will be discussing in detail later that what is peristalsis. First of all, we are discussing what are the functions of the different organs associated in the digestive system. Now, now what you need to remember is that food is now, when the food is mixed with the saliva, chewed and partially digested, right? This is called bolus. Food after chewing, mixing with saliva and uh, partially digestion of starch is now called bolus, bolus of food. Now this bolus actually passed down. Here we should not say that the food bolus, you should know. The bolus is basically uh, the processed, a partially processed form of food in our mouth, right? You could say that. Now this bolus is moving in the esophagus with the help of bolus of food, right, in the peristalsis, through the peristalsis. Now when stomach, now when the bolus reaches in stomach, uh, stomach is a muscular organ, and stomach walls are, they are basically contract and relax with quite a force. Now this movement of the stomach wall are called churning movement of stomach wall, right? Churning movement of stomach wall due to the contraction and relaxation of stomach muscles. Food is mixed with the stomach, with the gastric juices produced by gastric glands. Now, there are some glands, glandular cells present in stomach wall, and basically, stomach is an organ, so it consists of a different type of tissues. As we know that a tissue is a group of similar cells performing one function. So, stomach does have muscular cells, muscles that are performing the churning movements, right? Stomachs have glandular cells that are releasing gastric juices, right? And then stomach have also some those glands which secrete mucus as well. Now, stomach walls also has, right? Now, these, first of all, let me tell you what are the purpose of this churning movement of stomach wall. First of all, it is mixing the food with the gastric juices which are present in stomach. And secondly, this churning movement is doing the physical digestion, right? Now, this churning movement is doing the physical digestion of food, that further processing of food. Sometimes we do not chew or grind the food with the help of our teeth very well. We do not chew it well. So the food has not, the surface area of food has not been increases, the food has not been broken down or crushed or grinded into very small pieces. Now, this part of this physical digestion, the partial physical digestion has been done of the food in our mouth. Now, the rest of the partial digestion of the food, so that the food is converted, the bolus of the food is converted into a paste like structure, a semi solid paste like structure called chyme, basically, right? So the churning movement is doing the physical digestion of the food, converting the bolus into a paste like uh, texture called chyme. Now, this is called chyme. So the food when releases from stomach after digestion is called chyme. Food that is released after physical and chemical digestion from stomach is called chyme, right? This basically appears to be yellowish in color, right? Because as there are, it is mixed with the gastric juices, and gastric juices they have there. Now, what is there in the gastric juices, which is, oh, now the gastric juices which are secreted by gastric gland, they have two components. Now, the gastric juices have two components. Now, what are those two components? Number one is the hydrochloric acid, a concentrated hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid, and second is the enzyme which is called pepsin, and pepsin a protease, right? So pepsin is a protease, that is a proteolytic enzyme, an enzyme that digests the proteins, right? So these are the two components of gastric juices which are doing their function. Now, what is happening that, now, what is the function of this hydrochloric acid? The function of, there are two functions of, further, there are two functions of hydrochloric acid. One is, now, first is the function to kill bacteria in the food, right? Because as you know that our body has some defenses against the germs that are somehow entering in our body. So one of the chemical barrier which is present in our body that made the germs to killed, which are present in our food, in our water, is the hydrochloric acid. It's a concentrated hydrochloric acid that basically kills the bacteria in the food. Still, some germs are able to survive, then they cause the dehydration, cholera, or these kind of things, right? The second function of bacteria is to create an acidic environment in the stomach for the efficient working of pepsin enzyme. Now, actually, what is there? that pepsin is an enzyme which is when released by the glands of stomach. It is an inactive form. It is not active when it is released. But when hydrochloric acid is secreted by the gastric glands, they have a very low pH that is around 2. Now this acidic pH of hydrochloric acid basically activates that inactive pepsin, which is also called pepsinogen, into pepsin, right? What you need to remember is that one of the function of the hydrochloric acid is to create an environment in which pepsin can work effectively, because since it is an enzyme, and as we know that enzyme has have an optimum pH to work efficiently, because if the pH is not appropriate, the enzyme usually denatures or it doesn't function well, or even if it is working on a slow base, right? So the rate of reaction, or the rate of the enzymatic catalyzed reaction, is always higher when the pH is optimum. And this pepsin, basically it has an optimum pH of 2. It has an optimum pH of 2, which is maintained, and this optimum pH is basically maintained by hydrochloric acid. So see, if hydrochloric acid is not produced, this pepsin will not work, right? Because we usually have a neutral environment. So okay, now let me tell you this, that what we have perhaps miss is that, since we have discussed that salivary amylase is basically converting the starch into maltose, right? It is converting starch into maltose, right? This amylase is converting starch into maltose. Now it has a optimum pH 7. Now, this is the neutral pH at which it works well. So, if you have an acidic pH in your mouth, that won't let salivary amylase to work, right? So, this salivary amylase, when reaches with the bolus of the food, esophagus into the stomach, what do you expect? Will this salivary amylase will be continuing its activity into the stomach? Of course not. It won't be continuing its activity, because the optimum pH of amylase is 7, and it will be denatured in an environment where the pH is 2. In stomach the pH is 2. So this amylase is denatured in a stomach, right? All right. Now, hydrochloric acid is basically, we have discussed that it has two functions, and those two functions are killing bacteria and creating the environment for acidic environment for the efficient working of pepsin enzyme, because since it is as a pH of 2. Now, what is the function of pepsin? Of course, it digests proteins into polypeptide chains and amino acids. Now, see, the starch digestion has been begun in the mouth, the protein digestion has been begun in the mouth, but lipid digestion has not begun till yet, till the stomach. Right now the stomach walls are contracting, relaxing, they are mixing the food with the gastric juices, so that there is an efficient pepsin binding with its substrate, that is proteins, and they are converting the proteins into polypeptide chains and amino acids. Actually proteins are very quite complex structure, so this complex structure cannot be digested into amino acid in just one go. It requires time. So that's why food stay for quite hours, a couple of hours in the stomach, and then they are released slowly into the small intestine, and the first part of the small intestine, right? So here this is happening, physical digestion and chemical digestion. Now here, which I want to discuss, one of the thing is that goblet cells that you need to remember. Now these goblet cells are present in the lining of stomach and small intestine. Now these are very important cells. Why these are important? Because they secrete Mucus. Now mucus is that substance, is a sticky substance basically, that creates a protective layer uh, against the walls of against the wall of stomach and small intestine. And why it is creating the protective layer, and for whom it is protecting this goblet cell is necessary. As you know that proteins are also present in the cell membranes of cells. So since pepsin is a protease enzyme, it may also digest the proteins of the cell membrane of stomach cells as well. So it may harm its own cells. So in order to protect the stomach cells, the stomach epithelial lining cells from its own enzymes, right? There are the goblet cells which are producing mucus, and this mucus is basically lined against the wall, so it is protecting. Now, this is a barrier between the protease enzyme, that is pepsin, and the uh, cells of the stomach lining. Now, these, right, and same for the small intestine as well, right? Epithelial cell lining is the outermost lining inside. It is the outermost lining which is exposed to the environment of the gastric juices and food. Now this has to be protected against the protease enzyme, because if the protease is in comes in contact with the proteins of the epithelial cell lining of the stomach wall, it will digest them, so it will harm its own cells. So the body has a protective covering, your protective lining with this mucus. So these goblet cells are playing an important role. This mucus not only basically creating a protective lining against the wall of the stomach and small intestine, it is also making the food moist as well, because this mucus also has water in it as well, right? So now the food which is now being released from the stomach into the small intestine is called chyme. So the chyme is released from stomach into the small intestine, right? Now see here. Now here you could see that from stomach the digestion of proteins is done, right? Partially done. Still the proteins are not fully digested. Now this chyme is now is being released here in this part of a small intestine which is called duodenum. Now, duodenum is a U-shaped like structure, which I had already told you that this is connected with the bile duct and with the pancreatic duct, right? So, pancreas is a separate organ which is connected with the alimentary canal with the pancreatic duct, and bile duct is a duct that connects the liver and gallbladder with the alimentary canal, because liver is not a part of alimentary canal. Liver is a separate organ and it has many functions. Among them, one of them is producing bile, right? So as soon now we are going to discuss what this bile is doing actually. Okay, now now let's come towards s- small intestine. Now, small intestine we have discussed, it has three parts, right? But in our syllabus, we have to discuss only duodenum, right, and ileum. Now, duodenum, in duodenum, what is happening? Now, what is the function of duodenum is that most of the chemical digestion of nutrients is completed in duodenum, right? And in duodenum, right now the duodenum receives the chyme, and this chyme is acidic because since it is coming from stomach and stomach pH is 2, right? But duodenum pH is not 2. Duodenum pH, the enzyme that work in duodenum, they require an alkaline environment. So for this environment, bile is released by the liver, which is an alkaline substance, and it basically increases the pH of the acidic chyme towards alkaline, so that an optimum environment is created for the enzyme that have to work in the duodenum. So can you imagine that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically has made the alimentary canal divided into different parts with different structures, with different secretions, with different functions, and even the pH of every part is different, and the pH is maintained by different chemicals which are being released by different parts of the digestive system, right? So in duodenum most of the chemical digestion of nutrient is completed, and uh, now this duodenum basically receives duodenum what duodenum receives bile from liver, right? Now actually liver secretes bile, but it is stored in gallbladder, right? And whenever there is a need for the bile, whenever we are eating the food, so the signal is sent to the gallbladder, and gallbladder start to release the bile into the bile duct, and which reaches into the small intestine. Bile from liver and gallbladder. Why I'm saying gallbladder? Because gallbladder is storing the bile, right? So liver is making bile, liver is secreting bile, and it is stored in gallbladder, and through gallbladder it is receiving the bile. Now duodenum receives bile from liver, right, and gallbladder, right, which is a temporary storage place. Second, it also receives pancreatic juice, pancreatic juice pancreatic by pancreas through pancreatic duct, right? And here it is receiving bile through bile duct, right? Now these two ducts are basically connecting uh, these these two ducts are basically connecting the two organs of digestive system, that is liver and pancreas, with the alimentary canal. All right. Now in duodenum, now what is, right? So most of the chemical digestion of nutrient is completed. Uh, the food is passing, right? The food does not stay in duodenum. It just with the help of the peristalsis, it keeps on moving. Now small intestine is the most lengthy portion of the alimentary canal, about 4 to 5 meters long, and it's a very long and narrow tube through which the food is moving slowly and slowly with the help of peristalsis. Now, this peristalsis is basically making the food to move through duodenum, and while the food is moving, mixing with the pancreatic enzyme with the bile, and the digestion is being taken place, and the food is slowly, gradually moving towards the next part of the small intestine, that is ileum, right? So far we have discussed, not only we are discussing the function of the different organs, but we are also discussing the chemical digestion of substances as well, nutrients as well. Now let me discuss that which chemicals, which nutrients are chemically digested and or physically digested in duodenum. Now there is one thing, as I mentioned you, that in stomach, till stomach, lipids digestion had not started. Carbohydrates digestion had started, that is the digestion of starch had started in the mouth, but obviously it couldn't be continued in stomach due to the acidic pH. Now still some of the starch is left which has to be digested, and in stomach, uh, some of the proteins have been digested into polypeptide chains and amino acid, but still some protein are still left to be further digested into amino acids. So further digestion has to be continued, and lipids have not started being digested. So what is happening in duodenum? First of all, uh, the bile, right? Now the role of bile comes here. Now bile is a very important part of the digestive system. How? Right, it is an alkaline secretion from liver, and it has few functions that you must remember. And what are those functions? Those functions are, its functions are, first of all, right? First is its function are: number one, it physically break down. As you know that lipids are not dissolved in water, they are insoluble in water, and enzymes only work when they have the substrate in the dissolved water solution, but lipids do not dissolve in water. So there must be something basically. And what do the lipids do? That all the small droplets of lipid, they combine together, then they make large droplet. As you can see that whenever you drop some lipids in oil in water, they come together and make a large droplet of lipid. But this lipid, large droplet of lipid, is not easy to be digested, chemically digested by lipase, which is an enzyme that digests the lipids, right? So, in order to physically break down, the physical breakdown of the other molecules was being done with the help of the teeth, with the help of the stomach wall movement, but the physical breakdown of those large droplets of fat, basically it is done by the bile. And because since how it is doing, it emulsifies them. It is alkaline in nature, it emulsifies them, that it basically break down large droplet of lipids into small droplets, so that lipase can work efficiently to digest them chemically, right? Efficiently and quickly. Now the quicker digestion will be there when there is small substrate molecules and they are coming in contact, and they are having effective collisions with the enzyme. Now a large droplet cannot be efficiently basically digested by this is what we had studied in the last class, that why physical digestion is important. So if the lipid molecules, they are combined together, how this could be how this could basically it won't be making the lipase to work on it. So at this time, bile is helping, bile is emulsifying them. Now this procedure is called emulsification. This breakdown of lipid physical, now this is the physical breakdown. Now this breakdown of lipids droplets physically is called emulsification. Now, emulsification is very important, right? So, bile is basically what? Simple, in simple word, it is emulsifying fat. It emulsifies lipids. Bile emulsifies lipids. One of the function is bile emulsified lipids, so that lipids can work efficiently. Lipase can work efficiently, and they can digest lipid. Now, the second function that basically a bile does is the second function that it does is basically it neutralizes the acidic kind. Now the kind has the acidic pH. Now this pH has to be neutralized. This pH has to be neutralized because pancreatic enzyme, or the enzyme which are produced by the small intestine walls cells, they cannot work in an acidic pH. They will get denature. So bile is an alkaline substance, right? Which what does it does is neutralizes the acidic kind and maintains the pH maintains the pH up to 8 to 9. That is alkaline for the optimum working of pancreatic enzymes and small intestine enzymes. The small intestine walls also release enzymes as well. Those they also digest nutrients, right? And they cannot work in the acidic pH. They require alkaline pH. So this alkaline pH is maintained by bile, right? So if there is no bile, there will be no emulsification of lipids. So lipase will not be working efficiently to digest lipids. Secondly, there will be no bile, if I'm saying. So there will be no neutralization of chyme. So if there will be no neutralization of chyme, means acidic chyme will be moving, passing through the small intestine, which will denature all the enzymes, and your food will not be, your nutrients will not be digested into small, in the smallest and simplest molecules that have to be absorbed in the blood, right? So bile is very important, and in this way it is basically helping the enzyme. So this way, while maintaining the pH, it helps the pancreatic enzyme to work efficiently, right? Now this is basically the function of bile. Now here, the liver secretion is playing an important role. Now the second part that comes from the pancreatic juice, right? Now this pancreatic juice is basically a combination, you could say that it consists of three enzymes, right? And all these three enzymes, they have an optimum pH of 8 to 9, and alkaline pH, see, slightly alkaline pH. Now what are these three enzymes? Number one is pancreatic amylase. Now that's why we say that salivary amylase, because amylase is being secreted twice. Once in the mouth by the salivary gland. Secondly, it is secreted by the pancreas, and that's why it is called pancreatic amylase, right? And you must know the difference between two of them, right? We will be discussing them. Okay. The second is uh, trypsin. Now trypsin is the pancreatic protease, right? Pepsin was the gastric protease, and trypsin is the pancreatic protease. And the protease enzyme means a proteolytic enzyme that digests the proteins, right? Since our proteins couldn't be digested completely in stomach, so they have to be further digested. Now there must be another protease present in order to completely digest the proteins that we had eaten in our food. All right. Now the third is the lipase. Now, as you can see that lipase was not secreted in the mouth, in the esophagus, in the stomach. Lipid digestion had not started till the lipids reached to the small intestine, right? So the lipase is basically lipase does the digestion. Lip, lipase is basically digesting the lipids, right? So you know the function, their functions, right? Pancreatic amylase is basically digest starch, the left starch, into maltose. Now this trypsin basically digests proteins and polypeptide chain. Now these polypeptide chains have been produced during the protein digestion in stomach. Polypeptide chains are the intermediate product of the digestion of proteins, because as proteins are very complex in structure, whenever the protease act on them, first they produce the linear chains of protein, and then they produce simple singular single amino acids, proteins and polypeptide chains into amino acids, right? And of course, last but not the least, lipase that digests the lipids into fatty acids and cholesterol. As you can see that this is all happening in small intestine, in the duodenum part. As you can see that most of the nutrients are digested into their simplest form. Amino acids have been produced, fatty acids and cholesterols have been produced. Yes, maltose is a simple sugar, but still it's not the simplest carbohydrate that has to be absorbed. Now maltose is basically digested uh, at the site of the wall by the maltase enzyme, which is secreted by the epithelial cells of ileum. Ileum is the last part of a small intestine where these simpler substances, that is amino acid, fatty acids and cholesterol, have to be absorbed. These cells produce maltase enzymes, and the enzyme is present there. When the maltose reaches there, on the same time maltose is converted into glucose, and this glucose is keep on absorbing into the bloodstream, right? So maltose is basically converted into glucose by the small intestine enzyme maltase. Maltase is not produced by pancreatic juice. It is not produced by stomach, anyone. The small intestine produce it, maltase, right? So let's see that how much we have covered uh, from these. Right. So we have covered the function of mouth, salivary glands, stomach, small intestine. We have also done with the liver. We have also done with the okay. We have done with the we have done with the mouth, salivary gland function, stomach function, small intestine function, liver function, gallbladder function, pancreas function, alkaline secretion. Now these pancreatic juice is also alkaline, right? And then we have not done the ileum and colon, that is basically whose function is absorption, because as we are going to absorption and assimilation in our next topic, in our next lecture, right? So this part is basically their function is absorption and egestion, and the large intestine, that is rectum and anus, right? But we are not covering it today, right? We will be covering when we will be discussing after assimilation, right? Describe the functions of amylase, maltase, protease, lipase, listing the substrate. I have discussed that amylase break down starch into maltose, maltase break down maltose into glucose, and this maltase is produced by the small intestine. Protease, pepsin, and trypsin both digest protein into amino acids. Lipase breakdowns into lipids, into fatty acids and cholesterol. We have also discussed, now this part we have done, this part we have not done, and we will be doing in the next lecture, right? We have done with the function of the hydrochloric acid. We have done with the different proteases present in the stomach and duodenum, and with their different pH level, as I've discussed that pepsin in stomach has a pH of 2, well, optimum pH, while the while the pancreatic protease, that is trypsin, it has an optimum pH of 8 to 9, which is an alkaline pH. So the pepsin denatures in small intestine, right? Because their alkaline environment is there due to the bile, right? Same for the salivary amylase. Salivary amylase has a neutral pH, optimum pH, that is 7. It denatures in the stomach acidic environment, and that's why a new amylase is produced by the pancreas, which has the same function, that it digests starch into maltose. But they have been those both amylase are secreted by different gland. One is secreted by pancreas, one is secreted by salivary gland. Salivary amylase has an optimum pH of 7, and pancreatic amylase has a optimum pH of 8 to 9. Right. Now we have also discussed the role of bile, that it is basically in emulsifying fats to increase its surface area for chemical digestion into fatty acids and glycerols by lipase. And yes, we have not discussed peristalsis. So we'll be continuing the peristalsis, absorption and assimilation, inshallah ta'ala, in the next lecture. You can go through the lecture, right, and understand. If you have question, you may ask me, you can message me, go through the lecture, uh, listen the lecture again to understand, because in this lecture you have to understand how same type of enzymes are released in different parts of the alimentary canal with the different optimum pH, but due to the difference in the pH, the enzymes are being denatured, and that's why they are producing again to complete the chemical digestion, right? So we will be continuing the next absorption, assimilation and peristalsis in our lecture, in the next lecture. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.